One of the things I find most fascinating about us as humans is our denial. There are things we do that, while not directly selfish, affect others in a negative light. As a Christian, but even before I was Christian, I believe that we are called upon to help others where we can. This might be through feeding a homeless person. It might be through saving someone from a path of life that they shouldn't take. It might be through helping someone through an addiction. The latter of these three is what I'd like to touch on today. Because when watching someone make a decision like this, it can feel like slow motion, especially if you've been through an addiction yourself. Even if it's not something that you've directly experienced, the signs show. It is a privilege to be well educated, and it is a privilege to be able to help people in that way. Thus, I believe that it is righteous for us to help people where we can. If we are called upon to help people, then we must also help ourselves. We must be humble in the way we approach things. But more so than that, we must be honest about what our motives are. Because in life there is an eternal balance. You cannot have a picture without both the shadow and the light. You cannot have beauty without evil, without good. Thus, we must be honest about the darker parts of ourselves. I've realized through much thinking and introspection that as humans, it seems that we would rather keep someone in our lives than help them in any way. I'm thinking of someone specifically when I say that we would rather help others. We would rather help ourselves than help others. Because of course it is more advantageous to stay friends with someone. But what I've realized is that I don't want to keep friends who are stuck where they are, who don't want to improve, who don't have things that they want to do to become better and more healthy people. This is the way that I live my life. And I understand intrinsically that it's not for everyone. But what I've realized is that it can be for everyone. Every day we wake up and we make a choice. Will we prioritize ourselves? Will we relax? Or will we call that friend back who we know is going through a tough time? There is a choice at every turn in life. And with this choice comes a great burden of character. Because if we believe that to help someone else would be to sacrifice them, oftentimes it is a fallacy. Because if you truly love someone, you would be willing to let them go. If there is a forest of green trees on the other side of you from where they stand, then you would move out of the way to allow them access. Say you're in a park and this very situation arises, but it's someone you don't know. They're trying to access a path, you're standing in the middle of it. Of course you're going to move. But why is this different for people that we care about? It's different because we care about ourselves too much. We care about ourselves to the extent that we would rather this temporary and fleeting sense of friendship than to truly help somebody. And that is why, personally, I will always take the risk And perhaps I take more of a risk than is advisable to do. But as with all things, there's a balance in this. Perhaps neither the mean answer nor my answer is the right answer. But perhaps the right answer lies somewhere in the middle between the two. Perhaps there is a selfless nature to the way that many of us try to help each other. When your friend calls upset, do you stay on the phone with them because you want to stay their friend? Or do you stay on the phone with them because you want to help them? Now, most of us would probably answer that it's to help them. But why do we want to help them? You see, there are levels to every decision we face in life. Levels to the meaning and the decision-making process behind it. We are motivated by more than our conscious minds often realize. And thus, people come to the fallacy that it is better not to offend someone than to let them carry on in a way that harms themselves. I have never avoided this. And with my best friend, I know that I can come to her with anything. I can criticize her for anything. And perhaps a reasonable response will not be given at first. But because we both communicate with each other in a way that tries to improve each other, we always come back to the conversation. We always examine the substance and not the emotion. Because when you trust someone to the extent that you can come to them and know that you will not be judged, save for in ways that may improve your person, that's when people truly open up. And it's hard to do that with a stranger. In a way, trying to confront someone about their issues is very similar to a friend. But friend in the way that most people understand it. Friend in the way that is only loosely committed. Only committed beyond a fake sense of respect they expect from you. But if you respected somebody, would it not be in your best interest to tell them that, say, their shirt is inside out? But these are outward appearances. Shouldn't we care about what's inside too? Shouldn't we care about what causes somebody to be the way they are? To do the things that they do. There's a thing I've heard time and time again. Oh, he has this addiction, but it's okay because it's a coping mechanism. He had a hard childhood. Oh, he does this, but it's okay because he was hurt recently. But does that make it okay? If we're being really honest with ourselves, we know that after a breakup, the best thing to do is not to go into a rebound relationship. And similarly, with trauma, the best thing to do is not to numb it with cheap thrills, with addictions. And we can be honest with ourselves about this. Internally, I'm sure every person knows this. No amount of denial can get around what is not healthy for us, because we must have made that decision to be there. It is easier to be healthy than not to be healthy. There will be work involved, yes. But when we look at our lives, we look at the things that we do. Every time we do something that hurts us, we are making an active decision to do so. And that is not an easy decision. Though it happens often, it is not an easy decision. And neither is it an easy decision to choose to be selfless in the way that you help somebody. To choose to try to turn their addiction into self-introspection. And it's hard. People get defensive. Of course I know this, but could we not consider to try just a little bit harder? If everyone in our society was able to give $1 to feed the homeless, suddenly we would have $8 billion to feed the homeless. Now you might say, well, some people wouldn't even be able to give that. True, but some people could give much more. And if you add it all up, you could help everyone. We could all be happy. And this would be heaven on earth. It would be truly beautiful. But it's easy to block this idea out because we know that it is not reality. But reality will not be changed if we do not change. In almost anything, it is us who needs to change. It is us who needs to provide the introspection. And thus, we find it necessary to numb this, to pretend that we don't know how things could be, to pretend that the way we are living is the best for us. But the deepest truth that I could pull and express from this is that what is best for us is also best for others. Because when we lift each other up, the whole world begins to glow. Where sin festers, darkness looms, poverty looms. But where creation and the power of giving grow, is where this world begins to become beautiful. It doesn't matter what your religion is. You might not even have one. We all know that helping each other is a good thing. So I encourage you to inspect yourself, to think about the ways in which you give, and whether or not it is righteous, whether or not you've done as you intended, at a deep level, not the surface of, well, I would like to keep the peace. No one truly wants to keep the peace. Keeping the peace is something we say to mask our fears. It's something we say to mask that part of us that would rather keep the status quo than dive into the unknown and try to make a difference in the world. But differences in the world don't have to be huge. Like me, with this channel. I've resolved that if I could help one person with these videos, then it would be worth it. And of course there are other benefits. I learn about myself too, in the making of these. But don't give up on change because you're the only one. A lot of the time, when one person changes, a whole cascade follows. One person reading a life-changing book, sharing it with 10 friends who then share it with 10 more friends, and all of their lives are changed. Don't think yourself powerless to start a wave such as that. Don't think yourself powerless to initiate change. You can help people if you so choose to. I hope you learned something from this video, and thank you for watching.